Max, 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 Super Max, Max, Super, Super Max, 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 Super Max, Max, Super, Super Max, 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 Super Max, Max, Super, Super Max, 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 Super Max, Max.
Ik mis geen race, heb scheid aan mijn centen. Ik zie Max.
Supermax, Supermax.
Supermax, Supermax, Supermax.
Don't we love it? G'day,
Oh, mate.
Steve.
G'day, Damo. Welcome back to another F1 podcast.
Yes, and
Supermax.
and not only is he Supermax, but I also agree with his take on the radio that fuck me, this is boring. I should have brought my pillow. So
Come on, Damo, wasn't that boring?
recap done. Thanks. See you later, guys.
Don't be like that. Don't be like this. Plenty to cover. Plenty to cover.
Yeah, more than we
Nah.
expected, to be honest. So yes, it is.
definitely. Definitely. Do you like my new lighting arrangement here, Damo? You know,
chopping and
bit of
changing.
orange,
Just make it, mix
bit
it
of
up.
Dutch.
Nothing
bit of
better,
Dutch
hey?
colour.
Are you turning into a fanboy?
No. He's only the best racer that's ever lived.
Oh, come on, mate. He's not the GOAT. He's not the GOAT. I saw the thumbnail. He's not the GOAT. He is by far the best driver currently because he can just hustle a shit
I think-
box. That's all I can say.
I think the decision, well, not the decision, I think what we all have to agree on now is that he is the best that there currently is.
Yeah.
Right at this very moment.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Just
Definitely.
nobody else can hustle a car like that. I don't care who you are. I mean, look at Yuki. He nowhere.
Well, that is definitely one of the talking points because we've got the Yuki v or Max, and then you've also got Lawson versus Sonoda. So we've got
We
a
do.
few things to kind of cover on that front. But look,
We do.
let's kick it off with a bit of something that I thought was going to be a worse issue than it possibly was. What about those grass fires? I thought, is this going to impact the race?
Ah, thankfully it didn't.
No.
Thankfully it didn't, because we could have had an Antonelli victory.
Oh,
Let's, I mean,
Jesus.
just think about that for a minute.
Is there a problem with that, mate? Is there a problem?
No problem with that. I just don't believe in red flags and getting free tyre sets. That's my personal belief, and that goes back for a long period of time for me. But
Okay, spicy.
yeah, at the same time, I'll apologise later to Antonelli
Okay.
for what I said last week. But no, I think we had a good race and no grass fires, which was good because it did kind of look like we were going to have about 3 red flags during that race.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, look, it's all popping off. Yeah, g'day,
It's all
mate.
popping off?
How you going? We've got chatters going. They need.
Oh, we got chatters.
Welcome. We'll get to you in a moment. Let's keep moving
Yes.
because okay, so if you're not a fanboy, let's park that, right? You're just acknowledging that he is the greatest.
Yeah.
But can we just sort of think about the rookies, right? So the opposite scale and it's a bit of an early one. We haven't got a dedicated thing because we've got so much to cover. But if we do a little bit of a rookie watch, what was your take on the rookies and I guess how Antonelli, perhaps even the master or the best at the craft at the moment, Hadjar, how they're going?
Mate, those rookies are flying.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I know I said last week that Antonelli, you know, I expected a bit more from him, but I apologize. I think he's doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Right. So he's bringing the speed slowly, incrementally. And the fact that I heard also in the lead up that he's also still doing his schoolwork and everything else, I take my hat off to him because I definitely couldn't do that. But no, they're all amazing. And Hadjar in particular is just, mate, that boy has got some speed.
The boys got some
Absolutely towed up Lawson. Towed him up.
So much so, the talk from the weekend is like he's next in line. Get rid of Sonoda, you know.
Come on. Come on, mate. Too early. Too soon.
Too soon. Look, I know I've thrown this off a little bit in our schedule, but I just, like, we've got so much with doing.
Yeah, I know.
So let me have my little rant on doing. What sort of assholes are that team where they've got a guy who's clearly under the pump. He's a rookie. Okay, yes, he's raced at the circuit before, but not in the cars. They don't get rid of Gasly. They put the new rookie in FP1 in Doohan's seat to give him even less time to get used to it. And then, what we now know, like Doohan making a rookie error, right? And just not helping his cause at all, where in the simulator, it worked.
Yeah, so here's my thing, right? With this whole, I know he's made a mistake. He's been the car hard. I know it worked in the simulator, but the onus of the team to maybe just say, hey, listen, we know that it's working in simulator, but we don't think it's a good idea to do it at the track.
Yep.
Like, I mean, they've got Gasly in there. It's not like he hasn't been to the track before or anything like that and has experience with this stuff. Like, clearly, I know it's Doohan's, he's going to go and do it probably anyway, but at the same time, I kind of feel like there's a bit of onus on the team. Yeah. Just to say, peg it back.
Yeah, well, I think, I'm critical of the team for giving up his FP1 seat.
That's
but
terrible.
Also, you're right.
Start on that.
It's not just a driver error. I mean, yes, it is, contextually, but you know what? The team have that onus. I 100% agree with you. They whether it's, team from Gasly to engineers to everyone else, need to be really clear about what can and can't be done. And, we don't know whether Doohan's actually spoken about it. Clearly, he may not have. He just thought, hey, it works, I'll just do it. But, for that, not even to have a disclaimer that the team could say that, hey, what you do in the sim is not always going to correlate in the same way, even if it's really comfortable. It just seems to be basically a big breakdown. And I sort of feel like at this time and point that team and Doohan, it's done. It's all over because they're not helping him. They're not making any effort, and he's feeling the pressure and making mistakes. And it seems that we're just going to burn through a rookie that probably, to be honest, don't think he was ever going to be one of the greats or anything, but he certainly has some good potential. So it's a shame.
For a guy that sat out for a year to be, 2/10 off Gasly in most cases, or there or thereabouts, or on occasion actually go faster than him, I think he's got potential. And I agree. It's frustrating because it's a rookie that's going to get burnt. And we'll get to Lawson later. But ultimately, this is a hot take, Damo.
Yep, go.
I rate Doohan higher than I rate Lawson.
Last week, I would not have agreed with you. This week, look, I think Lawson really struggled, and it is hard because there's so many additional pressure points that are happening for him. To managing dealing with that, but he really didn't. There were such fluctuations that you saw. Like, Yuki was really good at FP1, then absolutely failed him at FP2. Lawson was kind of ahead of him. We had some peaks and troughs, but when it comes down to it, against a rookie teammate, he got towed, and it is, it's becoming apparent that whether or not he was the right person for the job, I don't think we'll ever know now. But it's apparent that this additional pressure and stuff has really pushed him, I think, beyond repair. I think he's done, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, I think the damning thing was what was in the what his current boss said, where he said, Lawson could be in for 100 years and still not be as fast as Yuki.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really alarming comment from a head boss. So, look, I like the guy in a sense. I know a lot of people don't like his arrogance or his confidence. I think it's probably more confidence than arrogance. Sometimes it can come across wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the likelihood that he is in a seat come middle of the year?
Zero. I really don't feel. I reckon maybe if he can turn around his form, maybe he gets to the summer break. But if he continues the way he did on the weekend past, he's going to be a world of pain. He's just not going to be around, unfortunately.
No, and I think that's the problem, right? Like, I don't see him finding pay. He's going into 2 races. Has he done Bahrain and Saudi? I know he hasn't done Saudi.
Yeah, I think he's done Bahrain. Well, he did testing, which was limited as well. Remember, because he had that issue. But he has done a bit of track time there, so he should be comfortable at Bahrain.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lawson, you're on notice. You know, like this is dire.
I think he knows. I think he knows.
I think he knows as well, but I'm just going to add the extra pressure because he's used to that now.
Yeah.
And it's not looking good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Now we have got 2 absolutely great stories. We sort of touched on Kimi. We'll get to Behrman next, but Bortoleto, boy, that car is starting to struggle, and he's doing a reasonable job, I think. But yeah, geez, it's tough.
Yeah, well, he's as fast as his teammate, if not faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's all he can do right now. That car is falling back into its routine, even though Alpine is squarely at the bottom at the moment. It's not the slowest car. So, I think he's just got to keep turning up and do what George Russell did all those years ago. Just keep beating your teammate, and hopefully for his sake, we turn up next year in Audi guys, and it's a lot better for him. But I still have my reservations on that.
I really hope they are spending a lot of time on that next year's car because, boy,
they're spending a lot of money.
So, obviously, touched on Kimi. Great job.
Yes.
Stella.
Awesome.
He's getting super close to George, and I think that's brilliant. But how good was that drive from Behrman?
Exceptional. That car has no right. I really believe that car has no right with being in the points. So the fact that he's eking points week to week at the moment, is just incredible. Yeah, hats off to him. I was skeptical last year because he obviously stepped into a Ferrari. He did a great job, but I'm like, well, he's in a Ferrari, And he had a couple of stacks towards the end of last year. I was like, see, it's a bit harder now, but no, he's absolutely turning it around. And who's Ocon? Is that another driver we're going to lose? I mean, what's going on there?
Well, given the fact they brought the new floor, and Behrman was like, it's transformed the car. This is great. And then for someone with the experience that Ocon has to then turn around and go, it just didn't work for 2 cars. And it's unless there were different parts that were not working with it for his car, I mean, the fact he was so far behind and such an exceptional drive to get points, etc. Yeah, it's
in China. Yeah,
geez, it's tough for Ocon right now. He's got to start outperforming his teammate.
Yeah, he does. I mean, obviously he had the result in China, which was great, but it's the results on days like in Japan where it's not their strongest track that you see the other driver carry it. And that's the alarming part. I mean, I never rated Ocon high. I mean, for Christ's sake, Danny Rick absolutely obliterated him in the Renault. So, I've never said that he's a great or anything like that, but he's a good enough driver. But Behrman is he's actually kind of a little scary, kind of like Hadjar, just a little scary because they're the ones coming through. And I think we're starting to see that wave, aren't we? Now, this is what we're going to be watching probably for the next 10, 15 years. So
Yeah, that's right. Now, I guess, based off what we were thinking from the start of the year, we're probably not quite there. I say collectively because I made some judgments and you did too, but we're probably,
Yeah.
it's almost flipped on its head where we probably underrated Bortoletto, we underrated Behrman a little bit. We just said, look, he had a good car, we've got to wait and see. Kimi, has been someone that's starting to really outshine himself. So it's been a real flip from someone like Lawson who's had really good experience. Had some races before. We said wasn't technically a rookie because he'd had some experience, and he's the one that's really struggling. It's a bit of a whirlwind for the rookies, but some of them are really standing up to the task.
I come back to the fact that these cars are particular in the way they like to be driven, and I don't think it's the best set of regulations we've ever had. Just quietly, I think I said that last week too.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see 2026 and slightly different regs and how they all go.
Yeah, it does indeed. All right, let's do a little bit of a review of some of the big talking points from the Japanese Grand Prix.
Huge talking points.
As we've touched on, the qualifying became all important. I mean, it basically became a bit like a Monaco, didn't it?
It was a Monaco race, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, it was Japan. Look, there's a lot of talk, and I've seen Tom Ballyman also put out a couple of tweets about this. There's a lot of talk around, the circuits need to be upgraded to meet current spec Formula One cars. Now, Tom and I agree that's not the case. Yeah. These tracks are amazing. We need them. They need to stay, but the cars need to get smaller. They are way too big.
Yeah.
You can't go side by side through anything because one will be on the marbles and flying off into the barrier like Jack doing. I think the cars getting smaller is a good start. They need to be, obviously in 2026 they're going to be slimmer, so they're not going to be as wide, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think they need to be probably slimmed down even further beyond these regulations that are coming in. And then those tracks will make sense again. I mean, Monaco's never going to make sense, but at least, like the Japans and these natural tracks that we've had for so long will make sense again, and we'll get some good racing back on them.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so let's touch on a bit of the Verstappen, and then we can go to some of the battles, hey? So Supermax, obviously, absolute championship drive. Just excelling way beyond the car's capability, and he's fourth. You've noted, I forgot about it, but his fourth consecutive victory there.
Yeah, fourth consecutive victory at Suzuka. That's an impressive feat. There's no way that he was going to allow either McLaren through. I'll just put that out there right now.
All the gifts of tractors and stuff.
But no, he was at another level because he had no right, kind of like Behrman, had absolutely no right to get pole position. Pulled a lap that I don't think anybody else could do. No. And, might have had a different story if Piastri didn't muck up turn 2.
Yep.
Because I think he would have been fast enough to get the pole.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He started third. He finished third. Max went off, controlled the race.
Yep.
There's not much other to report other than I don't even know how much a Formula One car is these days. What, a $40 million lawnmower?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was quite, and realistically, probably the only time that that we had something worthwhile watching. The TV coverage did miss it a little bit, but it was.
Oh, it's bad.
It was, it was really good of, I think, Norris. It's the first time sort of this year, I think, really, where he's had a bit of aggro and has tried to do something. There's no, he didn't get pushed off the track. Max didn't change his line, which is, to be truthful, that's pretty rare for Max. You know, he made the slightest, just slightest move just to go, hey, you're not coming on. You're not going to pass me. You know, Lando did what he could to try and get in front because it was the only opportunity, and then just cut some grass on the old, use the old McLaren as an expensive lawnmower.
He definitely did that. No, it was an interesting exit. You know, if this was supercars, that'd be an unsafe release. Saying, I mean, there's not much you can take out of it. Max didn't do anything wrong. He kept it shallow.
Yeah, as he should.
But as he should. Yep. He has every right to do that.
Correct.
If you're cheeky enough to run side by side down the pit lane, I'm gonna run shallow and make sure that you stay on grass. Yeah. So I'd play on both. No problems with either. I did half go, because I've been watching too much supercars. That should be a penalty to Norris. Yes. But it wasn't. It was just me, getting my codes mixed up, Damo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think technically if they were further down the grid, if he continued in that vein, he probably could. There is still that penalty in F1, but because he's the last pit box, he's basically going out. And so that sort of negates that. So he got away with it. But yeah.
He did.
Well, I mean, do you wonder what could have been if McLaren had have tried something a little different?
This has been debated hard, hasn't it?
It has.
Good news is I haven't watched any of those debates. I know it has been debated.
He's staying out of it.
I'm not staying out of it, but I didn't want them to interrupt my train of thought where I am here, because in my honest opinion, here's what should have happened. Right. So the lap that Piastri came in actually should have been Norris.
Yes. I agree.
Norris should have been in. He should have taken tyres, gone out, and tried to make hay and get an undercut.
Yep.
That would have forced Max's hand, and then Piastri could go long, right? Keep run him, I don't know, lap 30, 31, whatever they had to run him to. And then come back out and hopefully either one has either undercut or one has overcut. It's as simple as that. I don't think they did enough. I think they were too worried about who would end up ahead. I think they're in their own heads because they've got a situation that they don't want to upset Norris, but they also know that if they upset Oscar, Mark Webber will be there without lube. So I understand their positioning.
Yep.
But I also don't like the fact that they didn't give a crack to Piastri towards the end of that race, because there is one factor that everybody has forgotten about in that run home, and that's Norris never got within a bee's dick of getting DRS. He was always outside of it, whereas Piastri was always able to close up to the back of Norris. And I think that is the biggest difference right now.
Yeah.
So they should have switched them. If Piastri couldn't get him, that's fine. Just switch him back.
Yeah.
You know that Piastri is not going to be a dick about it, unlike his offsider. So I think there was just, it should have been done. Whether Lando would have pulled across to allow it to I guarantee he would have blew up on the radio and cried Me a River by Justin Timberlake. But, that's just Lando.
Yeah, so I sort of feel a little bit the same. I think that McLaren, it was either, there were two alternatives. They were basically playing it safe because the team's championship and the drivers, they were just trying to be safe. Or they were too scared to really do what needed to be done. What's the point of having two drivers up the front, where the whole world talks about Paul Max being the only guy in the Red Bull and he needs a teammate to help him. So if you've got a teammate up there, then let's use them. Let's at least change the strategy just a little bit, even if it's a few laps. Give the time to get Norris out early, which I agree with. I think he should have gone early, try the undercut, see how it goes, and then you've got Piastri, and I think as long as they set the tone correctly, then they should be able to manage it. Okay, we know Norris sometimes doesn't play well. We know Oscar should do, but there will be a time where Oscar won't, and especially when you just go so safe. I'm not sure they're going to be able to beat Max if they don't start doing more or more important things with their strategy.
Yep. And the thing that they need to remember is if they keep playing these games like this and doing the safe, Max will win this title.
Yeah. I agree.
I
agree.
Yeah, that you just can't. You can't play it safe. I mean, it's on the drivers to get the pole position at tracks like this where it's vital, and I agree with that. And you know that is the reason they found them in that position.
Yep.
But ultimately, when you've got an option, especially when you've got your other driver absolutely all over the gearbox of your current one, and he can't get close enough, you just got to switch it.
Yeah.
You just got to give it that chance, and you got to do it early.
Yeah.
And give him the freshest option. Don't wait, because once tires are gone, you just got no option.
Yeah.
Like you got to get them at the start, or you don't get them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I guess, now just sort of talk a little bit more about Oscar, because he really is starting to show that little edge. He's really starting to kind of show that, okay, yes, he still made the mistake, didn't quite get the quality lap right, but he's really starting to show that perhaps he's the one that has an opportunity to try and win this championship. Whereas, as I said before, Lando has really only had that one move, where he's really shown some grit or some determination. And so, Oscar's really starting to take the lead, so it'll be really interesting to see how he goes at Bahrain.
Yeah, well, I think these next two will be very interesting. I'm intrigued, right? So there's two battles that I want to see play out on the racetrack. And the first one is actually Piastri v Verstappen, because they're both intelligent racers and they both won't give an inch. And I think that'll be fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
And the other one is to actually see a battle between Lando and Oscar. But I actually fear for Lando in that, because I don't think he's coming out on top. He made a statement this week that, if he wins, if he's becomes a champion, he wants to do it, be the nice guy. There are no nice guys on the track. You can be a nice guy off the track, Lando. But on the track, you cannot, even for a second, show any weakness, and you constantly do. And that's where I think he's going to get overrun. And that's fundamentally, until he changes that approach, that's why I don't believe he'll become a champ. But, we're going to see. But, I've got a feeling that little edge is coming. Fix up those 1%ers on Oscar's side, and suddenly Lando doesn't have a look in.
Yeah. I think as a teammate, that's what he has to do. And I think, just if we look at the Australian drivers anyway, that you look at the way in his early years, especially like Danny Rick, how nice he is outside the car, but in the car just had that edge. He was always dive bombing. Oscar's got a little bit of that, where he's just very calm, very, very nice, very happy. And then just in the car, just turns it on and has those moves, like he did on Lando at Monza, right? He's like, door open, I'm fucking in, mate. I'm not hanging about. So, I wonder how that is going to kind of kick off.
We'll find out, mate. I'm sure it's going to come to a head at some point this year, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll be bitterly annoyed if Lando ends up beating him or Verstappen for that matter. But I'm looking forward to a fair but hard fight, and I want to see that happen on track.
Righto. Well, let's quickly say hello to Mr. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
So g'day, mate. Max is the goat.
Max is the goat.
He's taking the mantle from Lewis as the current generation goat, and I'd say, just not me personally. I don't think just yet, but certainly right now he's the best driver, and you think if he nabs this year 5 in a row, holy smoke, that is a, yeah, you're getting pretty close to it, aren't you? So,
Yeah.
yeah. I saw these ones. I had a bit of chuckle actually. He was talking about Lando to cut the grass with his McLaren, and then he said, Lando's lawn mowing service bottling wins since 2020.
Yep, nice.
Dawn's probably out at the summer break.
Yeah,
following. He's been following. They've been following Isaac since the F4, so he's been great, which is true. He loves Kimmy too. Rates Dawn higher than Liam and Yuki, so there's that bomb. How about that?
Ooh, okay.
I'm not necessarily. It's line bought with Yuki, but he still hasn't really impressed me. He did do better than I thought he would, so yeah, that's good.
Look, I love Yuki and I wish him all the best. I really do. I think he's a cracker of a bloke.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yep.
I think that's the thing. Like, he's quick enough, but he's not. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see, right? You know, he's got to get to grips with a car that is very difficult. I actually had a laugh at Max's comment back to one of the I can't think of the word, Damo. What's the word?
No.
Interviewers.
Yes.
Interviewers, where he was talking about, you know, it must be great to have a great car and all this stuff, and then Max responded with, "You can drive it. I'm sure you're going to poop yourself."
Yeah. I know how quickly a lot of that people talking about, the Red Bull's the best car, the fastest car. It's like, you're totally underselling how good he is, because you can see where all the other drivers are in that car.
There's undisputing his talent now. Yeah. He doesn't make mistakes, and tricky cars he can drive to the front. That's impressive.
Talking about the 4 poles and 4 wins for Max at Suzuka. So yes, that's very true. Forgot about the poles as well.
Yeah, that was a pole.
I think the most wins at Austria Red Bull Ring. Yes, he definitely would have. Bit of a side note. Here's two kind of questions. We have addressed this, but I'll let you answer it quickly. Loving supercars. Was that Woody incident at the AGP worth a penalty?
No.
No. We're still in the grants. We both say no. Well,
no.
I mean, at worst case, definitely not the extreme that it was. That's definitely I don't think it's a penalty at all. But if they're going to give a penalty, a pit lane drive through is
too
terrible.
harsh.
Yep.
It was either 5 seconds, mate, or nothing. And in my belief, it was nothing.
Yeah, I agree. And he said, in F1 terms, who is Owen for like Carlton right now? Who's like the Carlton for AFL people? If you're following, they're struggling, battling a little bit.
Yes.
So in the F1 teams or drivers, who would you pick as the Carlton?
Alpine.
Yep.
Alpine is they should have points by now.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yep.
And that's somewhat team because they turned up to Melbourne with very high flexible wings. And once they got eradicated, they were nowhere. So, yep, they are the Carlton of F1 right now. That's... Sorry, Alpine, you need to lift your game. It's not just Jack that's the problem.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's going to be the fall guy, but there's a lot of work to be done. And there's a whole bunch of that. If we're looking at some of the controversies, I guess people talking about wait till round 9. McLaren's going to be slow. There's a whole bunch of stuff still to unfold on that. Yeah.
Can we just touch on that?
Yeah.
Right. The whole narrative that McLaren is cheating and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And how they're flexible. Like, it's within regulations, people. It's not cheating.
Yeah.
They might have flexible wings here and there, but it's all compliant, right?
Yeah.
So stop saying cheating. They've engineered an advantage.
Yeah.
That's all they've done. They've worked it out over other teams. Now, come round 9, that might change.
Yeah.
But I actually don't. I've said it before. I don't think their advantage is in the flexi wings.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, but I think it's in elsewhere in that car.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we might see some other people who are perhaps a little further up that have greater impacts from that change than McLaren, in my opinion. But we'll just have to wait and see. Okay. It's time to have a bit of a review of our predictions. So we had some. Well, you were reasonably boring, and you still didn't beat me. So let's have a think about. We both had the wrong choice on the poll. Hey,
we were both boring.
Oh yeah. Well, I did have Hamilton in there, right? So
you did. Oh look, I had Russell. That's not boring.
Yeah, that's not too nice, but So yeah, we had I had Norris, you had Piastri as the poll, and then for
I was close, man. Close. Honestly, that was close. Anyway,
you've seen Fast and Furious enough times to know that quote about how close you have to be, mate.
Winning's winning.
That's right. We had the winner. We both picked Piastri. Just hoping, wishing. And then we go into. We both had Norris in second.
We got that right, mate. Well done.
Well done. And then our thirds was, as we said, Hamilton and Russell. So, it wasn't quite right.
So we came out of it equal.
We did. So that's all we got out of that one. But I think it's what's becoming evident is that not that we know nothing about F1, but it's very hard to pick because did some reflection. I thought, am I just not following it closely enough? I'm like, what's happening to me? And I had a look at other people that do predictions just randomly, and everyone else is having a pretty tough time. They're pretty, if they're being safe, they're picking those people, but they never, no one that I saw had Verstappen winning. A majority of them had Norris or Piastri as the key ones. So it's a bit of a tough one. And we go to Bahrain, which is finally a track they've all done testing at. And it's going to give us a better scope of where everyone does sit.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I don't know where you sit on Ferrari right now, but I think they're in a world of pain. I don't think they can run that car low enough to get the performance out of it.
No.
I don't see them getting any better at Bahrain. I think George made a comment this week that we haven't seen the advantage that McLaren has just yet because we're running in cool conditions in the last, to start the year really, because everywhere was cool. And his firm belief is that the McLaren's advantage is once it heats up, it looks after its tyres far better than anyone else.
Yeah.
So if he's correct and we're going to Bahrain where it is back to its scorching temps again, unlike last time we were there, they may have a very big advantage. But we'll just have to wait and see.
That might make me somewhat of a, finally, I can come clean and say that I was right about Mercedes if it's hot there and they actually go like crap, because I said from the start, I said, no, that it was just because it was cold weather. Wait till we get to some heat. And we really haven't had hot enough weather to see it. So I guess we'll find out, won't we?
We will. And I think you're right. I think once we get some heat, I think Mercedes will struggle a bit more. But I think luckily for Mercedes is that Ferrari's cocked up. So I don't think they'll be under any pressure.
Yeah, you're right. They kind of go okay in quali because they've got the lighter fuel loads and so they can run it lower. But what was evident from Suzuka is that they hedged their bet for the race car, so they didn't quite get it as low as they could have to save. Yep. And just having a look here, Mr. Bonjour had Max Lewis Lando for his tips, or for your tips, I assume. I said he, but could be anyone. And then had Doohan DNF Stroll in front of Alonso, which is that's a spicy one.
Well, that's a fail.
Yeah, but
Stroll went home, played tennis. And 3 grass fires, which there you go. Yeah, that's No, look, the grass fires. I would have said to you on the Saturday that was definitely 100% in.
Yeah.
No. Look, Doohan did well actually. Just quickly on that race because he I think he qualified 17th or 18th.
18th, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember now. But he got up to 13th, and I think that's a pretty solid effort on a track you can't pass.
Yeah.
So kudos to bringing it back, and I think he was only 1 or 2 spots behind Gasly.
Correct.
At the line. So look, I think he's doing. Yeah, he's actually not as bad as everyone's making out. Just a couple of things to clean up, and if he could get the support of the team, that would be great.
That would be great. All right. Now, I guess we're going to go on to a little bit of a preview because we did sort of touch on a bit of the Bahrain stuff, but let's kind of give it a bit more focus. We touched on what George thinks about the hotter weather with McLaren.
Yes.
So it's definitely going to be something that we should all keep an eye on, temperature and also how McLaren go. What do you think could happen between Piastri and Lando Norris? Fireworks? Another boring papaya rules kind of thing? What do you think?
Good question. I hope to never hear papaya. Well, depending what papaya rules actually means, I don't really want to hear it.
I might just keep saying.
I just want to. I want to see them actually go racing, and I think it'll be interesting because Lando was probably more comfortable at Bahrain in the colder condition. But I also think that Piastri wasn't showing anything last time they were there.
Yep.
Because, mate, he is on it at the moment. And I just think, look, I won't go into predictions, but I think out of the battle of the two, I think it might come down to quali. I'm still feeling Piastri at this given point.
Yes, we'll wait till we see our new predictions and see how you've got that because I feel much the same. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I guess the other big thing is what can Max do? Can he continue? I guess the strong run. Can he pull the rabbit out of a hat and get himself back on the podium at least?
If anyone can, Max can.
Yeah.
But I think this track is too hard to get back that deficit. There's not enough technical areas to show your prowess, I guess. I actually predict that this might be a weekend that Red Bull particularly struggle. I wouldn't be surprised to see Max qualify around the 5th mark, 4th, 5th, rather than being towards, like 3rd, 2nd, 1st type area. You can never discount him. And as I said, I think he's well and truly outperforming that car. But I think this one might be one they struggle at.
Yeah, I sort of went back to the whole testing and having a look, and I know they were kind of struggling, but I sort of feel like despite the trouble, I feel like Max will still be able to drag a result out on this one, and it will be. It's definitely, as I said, this race is one that should give us a better insight because of the track time they've had there. Yes, different weather conditions, but at least from a setup point of view, they should be pretty clear on the best path forward. So we should see, some real values in terms of the pace of some of the cars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we should know the pecking order after this one.
Yeah.
Properly.
Yeah.
Really. But you never know, mate. Sometimes strange things happen.
There's been strange stuff happening all year.
That's true. Not too strange.
No.
Hawthorne's winning. and anyone who's international that actually sees that goes, who the fuck is Hawthorne?
Yeah. AFL, Aussie rules. So we're happy at the moment. But
that's it.
We've got a good game this week. We'll see how we go. So Verstappen's teammate. All right.
Verstappen's teammate.
What do you think?
About UK?
Yeah, Q3. You reckon he's going to be able to get there?
If he doesn't make Q3, get him out.
You're fired.
No. I think if he doesn't make Q3, it's a disappointment.
Yeah, I think we said that last week too, though.
Yeah, I mean, and again, at one stage it did look promising, but I think what the problem is once everything is turned right up, the car is
A handful.
really sensitive. Like
Yep.
it's just so sensitive, and I think that's what tripped him up last one, and it might trip him up again.
Yeah.
This time around. But he did get close to the max. I think if he drives within himself a little bit, if he just notches it back to 99 or 98%, which is a hard thing to do for anyone listening, driving a car at 98%, then he'll be fine. But
Yeah.
look, if he qualifies around the 10, I'd say that's a win.
Yeah.
Right, anywhere around the 10. So 8th through 12th, I reckon that's a good result.
Okay. Okay.
Have you got a feeling on it?
I think in terms of quality, I think there's going to be a bigger gap, and then I guess I've made a statement about Red Bull and the racing. I think that maybe he'll make better progress this time through the race. But I agree with you. I just think the car with their window for the setup and getting the most out of it is so tough and it's so narrow that I think quality is still going to be a problem, and I would see him if he gets into Q2. I think it's not a success for him, but I think that's probably where he'll land.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree. I think he'll be in Q2. I don't think he'll quite make it to Q3. But as I said, if he can get, the 8th to 12th, so obviously if he gets to the 8th, he's made Q3. So,
True.
But yeah, it's going to be tricky for him. But this is a track that, well, actually, is wow.
Spit it out, Brian.
Brain. I know. It's just,
it's a tired
we've
boy.
already done one of these.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that excuse in my driver's book.
Yeah.
If the, not sustainability, what am I trying to say, Damien? The stable.
Stability?
Oh,
Is that the word?
stability.
Yes. Oh, I'm in a
What is wrong
dictionary.
with my brain?
All right.
If the stability of the car is in the highest, instability of the car is in the highest speed,
Yep.
then it might be tricky. But I feel like I think the issue with that car might be sort of low to mid rather than the high. So, you should be able to do it. You should. But again, we'll just have to wait and see, mate. I mean, I suppose the bigger question is whether Lawson can do anything. I feel like, that meme where the guy with the stick's like,
Do something.
It's like, do something.
It has that feel, doesn't it? And like as we said, it really is something that needs to kind of happen, if it's going to happen at all. I think he's got two battles, as we said. He's got his teammate, and he's got to go against Yuki. So, let's hope he can really, a bit more time. He's got through the emotional weekend and all of that. Let's see if he can refocus, get himself back up there. Because
Will Hadjar slaughter him again?
Yeah, I think so. But you know what? If he beats Yuki, it won't matter.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So, but yeah, I mean, he's my, as I said earlier, surprise packet. He's been outstanding. And I just, how you can go from such a 0 in Melbourne in round 1 and then just go, just start hitting home run after home run is just amazing.
Look, that was a glitch. It's just a glitch in the matrix.
Yep.
And he's fixed it up now, and away he goes. I'm thoroughly impressed with young Hadjar. So I look forward to seeing what he can do for many years to come.
Yeah, he's certainly putting himself up there as someone who looks like they're going to stay in the system for quite a while.
I hope he never gets the Red Bulls.
The poor bloke. Get I don't know, Cadillac seat or something else maybe. All right. Well, I guess that then leaves us with probably the last step. And if we're looking at, we're back to predictions for Bahrain.
Run the
Run the graphic. Yeah.
on the graphic. That's
Oh,
all.
I just shared the wrong screen. How about that? I did the graphic and then shared
Hey!
Right. It's just our notes.
We're winning, mate. We are winning.
So, let's have a look
Yes.
at, again, we've chosen pole, first, second, third.
Pole winner, second, third.
So,
Nice.
we can speed run or we can draw it out. What do you want to do? Since looking at the form here, we've both chosen some similar choices.
Yep, we have. Anybody would think we're related.
Yep.
Strange that.
And bias with an Aussie driver.
Well, Damo, I'm going to shock you
Yes. You're changing?
because I've gone for pole position.
Oh, yes. Drum roll. Yep.
Piastri.
Me, hashtag me too.
Oh, hashtag me too.
The wrong kind of me too. But yeah, no, I guess I had the feeling last week at Suzuka that he would do it, and yeah, you're right. If he had have got pole, didn't make that small mistake, we probably would have got it, and it would be a different result. But yeah, I think this one, you know, every time he makes a mistake, you can see he does learn from it. You know, small things that happen here and there, but I think yeah, Piastri's back on it.
Mate, when you turn up to a track you struggled at last year and win,
Yeah.
he's on it. And I'm just thinking this place, even if he doesn't get the pole position, it has an opportunity to pass. So, yep, no, it's good. So moving on to the winner.
Winner.
Actually, no, I'm gonna do the other way.
You're gonna go from third? Yeah.
I'm gonna go from third.
Oh, good idea.
I'm gonna
Mix
surprise
it
you, Damo. I'm gonna mix it right up.
up. Okay.
And second, I'm going for Norris.
Oh, that's a real mix-up. Okay, so Norris is coming second. Righto.
So good. That messed you up.
it did.
And for third, I'm just going to rattle them off. Sorry, mate. Third, Leclerc.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he'll finally get a podium this year. I was impressed with him in Japan because that car shouldn't have finished fourth, and it did.
Yep.
And as I said, I think Max might struggle this weekend. So, yep, I've gone for a Ferrari third in the hope that that happens because, you know, deep down somewhere there, I am a Ferrari fan, boy.
Yeah.
And the winner,
Oh,
the worst drum roll in the world,
and
Piastri.
no surprises either. Nice.
What about you, mate? What are you feeling?
Well, I sort of felt like the same. I felt like that if there's ever going to be a podium, like if it's, you know, Ferrari are going to get one, I've chosen Hamilton to get in at third. And really it was just to kind of mix up the predictions. I think, you know, if I was to hand on heart, I would have the sort of that combo, probably Verstappen, Piastri, Norris in some sort of order. But I thought let's grab a Ferrari up on the third. In second, I believe Verstappen is going to wrangle it, and the car's going to be fine. So we'll see how we go with that one, just to mix it up.
Ooh.
And then, of course, I've gone for such an outsider and such a different.
Portello, sorry.
Yeah, Portello. No, I've gone Piastri. Yeah, I think.
so
We'll
boring.
wait and see. But yeah, I'm waiting for, and I'm almost going to keep tipping him until it happens. But there's going to be this breakthrough where he's just going to dominate, and yeah. So why not kick it off at Bahrain?
Can we just say that if we go into the European round and he's rounds and he's leading the championship, when he comes out of those European rounds, he'll be miles ahead, just quietly.
Wow.
Because last year through the European rounds, he was actually the strongest driver out of those two.
He was.
So I'm just putting it out there.
Yep.
Just saying. Many say that he's not cut out for it and that Lando's much better. I'm starting to disagree with that one.
Having a look around, that people are already starting to doubt that the fog has come over Lando Norris, and people are talking about he doesn't have the strength, the mental capacity, all of those things. So they're really starting to turn the tide. And look, at the moment he's on 49 points, and then you've got Max on 61 and 62 for Lando. So it's he's got a bit of a gap
close.
to kind of catch up, but
He
he was helped a lot, by just grabbing some points in Melbourne, and a couple of wins here and there, and he's going to start dominating. So yeah,
I think so. He'll be fine. He's like Prost. He'll just keep bagging him.
He'll just keep.
But he's faster, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So he's in between. I don't think he's like a Senna-esque character. But I think he's sort of halfway between what Prost and he was. So it's a pretty formidable combination to have in your arsenal, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I guess for us, we're back to that painful middle of the night stuff. This was 1 a.m. It's like, I don't remember Bahrain being that late. Have that changed?
Is it 1 a.m.?
Yeah, apparently it's 1 a.m. for us.
Shit, I'm not going to be able to watch it.
No, one of those, what I tend to do is, get up a bit earlier and start watching it before I start work. So,
that'll be a 4 a.m. start for me. That's
yeah,
pain.
you probably can't do that. So I'll just watch it in the morning and then start pinging you, going, oh my goodness, this happened, that happened.
Asshole.
Well, you'll have to decide what's true and what's not if I do it.
Yeah. That's it. You'll throw in some bombshells. I'll be like, did that actually happen?
Yeah. Yep.
It's all good.
It's a bit of a tough one, but looking forward to it, and we'll get to see hopefully a bit more of a realistic pecking order of where people sit, and
And just for Mr. Bonjour, just
yes.
so you know, because you said you're a Supercars fan as well. We are there. We did a podcast earlier.
Yep.
It wasn't live, obviously.
Nope.
I'll be aiming to pop that out tomorrow, so that'll cover the Taupo stuff. So thanks for tuning in, though, mate. We love that.
Yeah, we do. Thank you, everyone that tuned in. Follow us on the socials. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we do on there, mainly Steve, and Boomer Damo's at some point going to get himself involved, which we'll touch on.
to teach the old dog new tricks.
But yeah, other than that, thanks everyone for watching, and I guess we will see you later. Super Max.
In the next one.
Yeah.
Super Max.
Bye.
Max, 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 Super Max, Max, Super, Super Max, Max, Max.